All right, hello. Welcome to today's class. We've got a total body reset. The focus today is going to be all about kind of hips, our lower abdominal musculature, so the coordination of these muscles, firing them correctly, really being able to stabilize using our hips well. Squat mobility today, so that means ankles as well as the hips are going to be included in that. And if you've ever been looking to do a pistol squat or just get lower in your squat, we're going to have a lot of work today that will help with that. If you have some yoga blocks, or you could even use like a stool or possibly a chair depending on your mobility, but having something that you could sit on of varying heights, you could even use a couch, something like that, might be helpful in some of the work later in today's class. So if you need a tool, you can press pause, go grab a tool. You won't need it quite right away, so I'll let you know before we start using it. So we have some work before we get there, but we're gonna start today's class actually by warming up our abdominal muscles and our diaphragm with our diaphragmatic breath. And we're practicing two concepts with this breath work. Let's come lay down onto our back and have your feet on the ground and your knees bent about 90 degrees. Now we have two concepts. One is really using our full belly breath, breathing in through the diaphragm, not just into the chest. We're also going to be using a locking mechanism. We talked about this in an earlier class last week about locking our tongue to the roof of the mouth. So what we're doing there is connecting muscles from the tongue that come underneath, connecting to your hyoid bone, connecting it up to the top of your skull. So we're making a connection there. So when you're doing crunches, abdominal work, or anything like that, if you're not locking that tongue to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth in the rest position, you're going to be stressing your sternocleidomastoid, which is a muscle that can pull your head forward and cause a lot of head and neck strain. So we're going to learn how to properly sequence and fire our abdominals for when we do core work. And we're going to utilize that today. So we're starting with our diaphragmatic breath, which means we're going to take a big breath into our belly, big as we can. And as we're inhaling, filling that belly up and then filling up the ribs, as much air as you can get. You're also going to be pressing through your heels, lifting all the way up. So you're going to have a big full belly full of air, lungs full of air, chest full of air at the top. We're going to exhale all the air we possibly can, staying up at the top. You're going to exhale, exhale, exhale until you feel like maybe you'll cough. After you exhale that air, do not take any more air in. You're going to hold that breath out and then swallow. Keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the teeth where it ends when you swallow, locking your epiglottis, locking that breath in, and then you're going to pull your hips down, and you're already going to start to feel a vacuum, start to feel holding that breath out and lowering your hips. We're then going to increase the vacuum, increase our diaphragm stretch by stretching and opening the ribs. It's almost like you're trying to suck in your stomach, suck in your belly button as tight as you can to your spine and reach those ribs out. And you're going to feel a big stretch maybe on the insides of your ribs all the way back, possibly towards your back of your spine there where the diaphragm connects. So now that we've learned those parts of the diaphragm stretch, let's take a deep breath in together. You can put a hand on the belly, hand on the chest to help you feel that breath. You want to take a couple just to get settled in. Feeling the belly rise and fall. Feeling the belly and the chest rise and fall. Now let's take our deep, big breath in as we lift up big as we can. And exhale. And let the belly relax. Take that air in. If you're coughing, that can be normal if you're not used to the diaphragm stretch. It's okay to have a reaction. Let the breath come back to normal, and we'll get ready to take another. We're gonna do 4 total. So let's get ready. Exhale your last breath all the way, and breathe in. And breathe and relax. Let's get ready for our 3rd diaphragmatic lock. Exhale that last breath all the way. And inhale, lift. And relax. Take a couple normal breaths. We're going to do our last one. Let's get ready. Exhale all your air. And relax and breathe. Excellent. So now our abdominals are nice and massaged. We've really stretched out our diaphragm. We can be sure that breathing into our belly is going to be nice and easy through the rest of today's workout, which is exactly what we want. So let's go ahead, roll over, and we're going to come up. You can start in a quadruped position if you like. We're going to push up and back into our downward dog. Dig in those toes. And push back. Let's look for some extension through the spine. Try to exhale into position. Focus on those belly breaths. Walk out your heels. Walk out those hips. Now let's tiptoe those feet up to the hands. You can relax your spine. And soften your knees, feet together, hands to your shins. Inhale, glance up, nice flat back, pull those shoulders low. Exhale, roll down. You're gonna wrap those arms around your legs. Keep your chest to your thighs. And keeping your chest on your thighs as long as you can hold that. Push through your heels. Try to straighten your legs. Turn your butt to the sky. Relax the head. And bend the knees. Let's push through the heels again. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend, and one more. Exhale, push to the heels, straighten those legs. Chest to thighs. And come down, place those hands on the ground. We're going to step it back into a very wide plank. And then crawl it back on our hands and knees. Try to keep a nice neutral spine. And then as we get closer, you can round and flex the spine as you get into a nice low squat here. Feet are nice and wide. We can put our elbows onto those knees. Push out, rock side to side. Again, we can be in a rounded position here, that's fine. Now let's take those hands back to the ground. Walk it back forward. And again, feet walking up to the hands, nice straight legs. Tiptoe into that forward fold. Exhale, relax. Inhale, hands to the shins, glance up. Nice extension. Exhale, roll down. We're going to step it back just one leg into our low lunge. Want to make sure hips are nice and straight and our front knee is over that front ankle. I'm going to temp those fingers, nice straight back. Push back through that front leg. Keep the hips nice and straight. We want to stretch that hamstring. Inhale, bend and come forward, dropping the hips. And then exhale, again, pushing back. Inhale, and last one, exhale. Bring the hands down. And bring that leg back, push back into a downward dog. And when we're back here, roll the feet, toes under, one at a time. Stretch out the top of the foot, pushing through the shoulders, keep that extension. You want to go both feet. Bring it back to your toes, push back into your heels, and let's send the other leg forward into low lunge. Nice straight hips, knee over the front foot. We're going to exhale. Push back into that hamstring stretch. Inhale. Forward and exhale. Last one. And bring the hands down. And the legs back into your downward dog. See if you can come up onto the tippy toes, rolling them both under, bringing it all the way down to the knees in quadruped. And with that, you can come down, laying onto your side. So we can bend our lower leg that's on the ground there to use it for stability. And we're going to use our upper arm here. You can raise it up so we have it as a place to rest our head and keep that head neutral. And we're going to do our hip cars laying on our side today. So before we begin that, a big part of having joint mobility is having core stability. So to start, we're going to practice taking that deep diaphragmatic breath. And when you exhale, I don't want you to exhale in vacuum, but I just want you to tighten those abdominals a little bit and lock the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And we're going to think about holding a tight, stable core without flexing and wiggling, just keeping it braced through our hip rotation. So let's inhale into the belly and exhale, just brace. And then you can take that top leg, keep your core tight, bring it up into flexion, raise that bent leg up to the side, rotate that bent leg so the foot is pointing back, keep that core tight. Reaching the bent leg back into extension, you're then going to circle it all the way back, keep that core tight, into flexion, out to the side, rotate it, and reach it back. One more circle in this direction. And then we will be switching sides. So when we get here, slow down and reverse. Now this part can be tricky. You're gonna lift it up with the foot up, and then rotate the foot down as you bring it up into that flexion. Push it back. Knee up, and then knee flat. Last one around on this side. And you can rest that leg. We're going to turn it over onto the other side. Just have to adjust my mic. Laying on your side, nice arm pillow. You can use your hand in front to stabilize. Bend the lower leg. Keep the top leg straight. Let's take our breath and do our exhale, brace, and lock the tongue. And bringing that knee up into flexion. Out to the side and rotate. Last one around. And reverse. Last one around. And with that, we're going to push over into a quadruped position, hands and knees. Make sure we're in a neutral spine, shoulders are over the hands, knees are under the hips. You can dig the toes in for stability. We're going to lift one leg out to the side, stretch that leg out. Remember, neutral spine. I want you to focus on keeping this little curve in the back of your spine. If you have that yoga block, you can balance it on your back. You can also challenge yourself to balance a water bottle, something that is a little less stable. People use foam rollers, but anything that helps give you just a little feedback onto what's going on into that low back pelvis area. So we also want to make sure we're keeping our hips straight. We're not rocking laterally left to right. It's straight forward and back. We're going to rock back, exhale into the stretch. Inhale, back up and exhale. Push the foot down into the floor. Check your alignment. That those hips are tracking straight back. One more. And with that, come back up to neutral. You can point the toe. We're gonna lift that leg up off the ground. Nice, controlled pelvis and spine. So if it's a little lift, that's fine. Just practicing that active flexibility. Let's do the other side. Nice neutral spine position. Gonna lift that leg out to the side and extend. Watch all of your postures as you rock back. Exhale. I want you to pay close attention to your spine. The slower you move, the more you're going to be able to feel. Now let's come out to neutral, point the toe, and lift. Nice job. Bring those legs in and take a seat in the middle of your mat. Take those legs nice and wide. You can see that you're comfortable if you're able to hold good upright posture. So shoulders, head stacked up over your hips. You want to make sure your cheekbones are level with your collarbones and that your shoulders are on either side of your ears. And then from there, if you look down, you want to make sure your hip bones are level. They're not one higher than the other. And then you've also got your rib cage right over your pelvis, so it's not jutting over or behind. And so with that neutral posture, you want to find your comfort zone in your straddle here. And we're going to practice, we can use our hands on their legs or the ground, but we're going to do a roll, rolling our pelvis under, and you're also going to flex the spine. So you're pulling your head down, rolling your pelvis under, stretching your back. Now let's exhale. We're going to go the other way. Roll your pelvis back, push your chest forward, shoulders back, spread your butt cheeks. And again, roll forward and back. Show you from the side so you can get a little better view of that whole global positioning. So I start neutral and then I roll my pelvis and my whole spine. And then I roll, and it's almost like a cat-cow. But I want you to observe also as you roll in this cat-cow, how when your pelvis rolls, your feet and the orientation of your knees also roll, right? Are your knees controlling this movement? Nope. We're rolling our hips and then our knees, because on the other end of the knee joint is our hip joint, are being directed by these hips. So keep that in mind. Whenever you're doing squats, lunges, anything, and your knee is not tracking the way you want it to go, for example, it's tracking inward of the big toe, you know the hips have a lot more to say about that than your actual knees do. So think about, when you think knees, think hips. So we've rolled forward and back, and I just switched to a front so you can see from here. We're gonna put our hands in the middle of our two legs, and we're gonna try it just lifting up one leg at a time. So it's gonna take a lot of core control. So we're gonna exhale all the air, just a little bit of bracing. You still wanna breathe, locking the tongue to the roof of the mouth. We're just getting in the habit of organizing our core and bracing and stabilizing before we begin in this way. So exhale, and we're gonna lift one at a time. Point that toe, it's gonna help lift the foot up off the ground. Let's do the other side. Point, I'm gonna push through the foot, right? Creating tension, and lift. Now if your quads are cramping, go ahead, bend your leg, give them a little bit of a, you can pound them out, you can give them a little bit of a jiggle. That's normal for that to happen, especially if you haven't tried straddle seated lifts before. Let's do a couple more. Point, lift, point, lift, point, lift. We'll do two more and one more. Excellent. All right. Roll out those hips. We're going to come up to a standing position. So I always make sure that I'm going to practice my get-ups too when I'm getting up. So think about that as you come up, maybe doing a little lunge to standing. So from here, we're going to be doing some footwork. I think this will better show my feet at work. I felt like that was really intense for calf raises. So let's stagger our feet. One foot kind of right in the middle of the other. And I want you to notice my feet fairly close together in line with my hips, and they're also in a straight line. So I don't want my heels out when I'm doing this. And I also want to make sure that when I'm landing, my heels are also landing straight. So we're going to be lifting up onto the balls of our feet. You want to make sure you're keeping that big toe down. And I also want to make sure my knees, my hips are fully extended, because if I'm bending here, right, my hips, my knees, and my ankles are all bent. But if I come up, I'm only getting one level of extension. It's a little weird. So I want to make sure that I'm getting 3 levels of extension: hips, knees, and ankles. And then once I'm up on my toes, here I have risen up in a straight line, then you'll see I'm gonna roll my ankles out. I'm doing it a little bit more extreme, might not be as mobile as this, but keep the big toe down, whoop, the little toes as relaxed as possible, so I'm able to keep my balance as long as I keep that big toe down. And you're rolling your ankle out, kind of almost like you're trying to pull the bottom of the foot up to the top, but keep the big toe down. Now you'll also notice when I come back down, I'm gonna lay back down in a straight line. People have a tendency to evert and then lay it down kind of slowly, gradually into more of a pizza shape. So just be aware of your foot alignment as you're doing this. And I just need more chill music. There we go. Much better. So we're gonna do 10 on each side here. Let's stagger those feet. You're gonna raise up, pull out, evert the feet, butt tight, back in and down. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7, 8, 2 more, and last one. Now let's switch the legs, and we're gonna raise up, evert, and down. Six, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Excellent. All right, now bring those feet nice and close together, and we're gonna do a 2-part movement. Start to open up our back side, our posterior chain, all the muscles from the backs of our feet, backs of our legs, back of our butt, our back itself, all of it. So feet nice and close together, maybe just a little bit of space between them, but not too much. And I'm gonna start by sending my butt back, soft knees, hinge over with a nice straight back as I can, bend my knees, keep my hips above my knees until my hands just about reach the ground. All right, now if we're not able to reach the ground, we can flex at this point. Remember to relax the head too, keep that tongue connected. And then in the same way, we're gonna reverse. You're gonna come back up, hands off the ground, hinge back up to standing. So just hinge over, bend the knees, all right? Keep the hips above the knees. Just those 3 things. Reach for the ground, bend the knees, hips above the knees. Now I also want you to notice as you're coming down, because you'll have a chance to look at this, how your knees are going. The reason we want our feet nice and close together is because then we have no option with our knees but to go outwards. Remember, rotation of our hips. Where our hips go, our knees are going to go. So we want to make sure we have lots of external rotation in the hips here. So as you're hinging over, you want to notice, see how that space gets bigger, right, between my legs. Here I am standing, feet together, and then I'm hinging over. I'll pull my arms up so you can see, but my knees get wider and wider. So that's what I'm looking for as you do this, right? It's not about looking so much here, right? We want to stretch this out. I'm okay with your spine flexing, but I want to see what's going on at the hips. So we're going to do 5 more. Hinge over, check your knees. Check your big toes. Are your big toes staying on the ground? Now, if you're not able to get your hands fully in the ground, on the ground in this round, this is okay. This is where we're going to bring our yoga block or our chair or our tool in for our next step. But just so far, focus on hinging over, touching, and back up. Go ahead, rest. If you're feeling any cramps in your hamstrings or your calves, go ahead, stretch them out. Grab a sip of water, and then we're going to take it to the next step. So if you were having troubles with your hands to the ground, no worries. We have options so we can get there. So if you have your yoga block, you can also use a low chair, stool, the couch, whatever is going to work. You could use a higher chair. You need something that's going to be able to let you get down to the ground with the feet on the ground, balls of the feet, the big toe, the heel, and get that nice kind of relaxed feeling. I don't want you to feel like you can't breathe when you're down in the bottom position. That's important. Feet close together. If you're using a yoga block, if you weren't able to get the hands flat on the ground, we're going to put the yoga block or the chair, what have you, right behind the feet. Then we're going to reach down, do our hinge, and then I want you to drop your butt towards that block, or in the case of you not using a block, okay, you're going to hinge over, touch the ground, and lower your butt down as low as you can, keeping your feet flat on the ground and your hands on the ground. And you'll notice your knees are going to be going out here. So yoga block or no yoga block, now we're going to hinge and drop our butt for 10. Hinging over. And breathe. Five more. Notice I'm letting my spine round, okay? We're not drilling anything except for hip work down here. I'm not worried about the spine being flexed. I actually want your spine flexed. We're not loading it. It's gonna be okay. Last one. All right. So we're gonna do one more round, one more advancement. This is a difficult one. You might find that you're gonna feel like you're gonna fall backwards. If you do fall backwards kind of over and over, go back to the previous, just focus on getting your butt on the ground or on your block. But sometimes it takes a good 4 tries or so before something starts to stick, so feel it out. And use a block or use a chair. You know, using something higher up is going to make this significantly easier. You can stack a couple yoga blocks, right? So we're gonna hinge over, drop our butt to our block or to the floor or to the chair. And then from there, you can lift one arm up If that feels good, you're gonna lift both arms up, back down to the ground, and reverse. Now I want you to see from behind, my arms are not going straight up by my ears, but rather out at a 45-degree angle. Make sure you put your hands back down on the ground before you stand back up. So last set, this is the most challenging one. Whether you're using blocks or not, this is very hard either way. I'm sure we've all experienced at one point or another how hard the overhead squat or the overhead lunge is. So let's get to it. Last 10 here. You're gonna drop down, reach to the ground, flex spine, drop the butt, you can lift up one and the other. And two. Three. Halfway. Both. Last three. Make sure you're pulling your shoulders low. Shouldn't feel your shoulders up, your upper traps working, but if you feel your mid back working, that is okay. That's what we want, those lower traps. You know the difference between feeling a back muscle working and being tired and the feeling of a back muscle saying no. Okay, if it's burning, dull, constant, stops after you stop exercising, you got yourself a muscle pain. All right, nice. Go ahead and rest. I know that is not an easy one. I'm just gonna roll my mat out and crawl it out into quadruped. We're gonna finish off our exercise kind of coordination here by doing an abdominal exercise. So from this quadruped position, first we're gonna practice letting it all hang. And that's just letting without swaying your back. Keep your spine neutral, but just let all the organs and the viscera, everything inside that abdominal cavity just hang. Let the abdominals loose, let them stretch. And in that way, we're getting a nice pre-stretch. And then we're gonna exhale, draw in our belly button, activate the core, just like we did, not in our diaphragm lock, but throughout our exercises where we're bracing. We're gonna hold that for 10 seconds. And then exhale, relax, and then pull in for another 10 seconds for a set of 4. So let it all hang. And then exhale, draw it in, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can still breathe. And 10, relax. Inhale and exhale, hold. Keep the tension, you can still breathe. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Exhale and brace and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Relax. And last one, exhale. Brace, hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. With that, you can reach one arm under, get a nice stretch across your back. You can reach the top leg, arm over. Exhale, bring that hand back and inhale. Reach up to the ceiling. Let's do the other side. Take it down and through, shoulder to the ground. Reach that top arm up overhead. And inhale. Go ahead, take a seat back. Thank you for joining me for a slightly more educational and in-depth version of some of our reset work. I appreciate you spending some time working on your core today, your core coordination. So I'm always happy and eager to share when I learn new things with you and integrate it into my practice and test it out. I love getting feedback. Not everyone is the same. You know, it's one thing to test it on myself and to see what it feels like for myself, but everybody is unique and different. So thank you for joining me for class today. I appreciate you. Much love. Thank you for taking care of yourself. Thank you for this act of self-love to yourself. Give yourself a big thank you and let yourself know you're worth it. You're worth the self-care and the self-love. And this is one of the best ways we can honor and respect our body and also help give back to the people around us by taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others. That's great. Anyway, here I go, rambling again. I have two very cute animals all cuddled up. It's a little overcast, so I think it's time to cuddle up with the animals after stretching out. And I will see you in the next class.